Look at Hammurabi's famous stela. The Babylonian king stands before a god receiving authority. Most people assume the god is giving him laws, but read the inscription. Hammurabi says, "I established law and justice. My precious words on my stela." First person, 14 times. Now look at Exodus. The tablets are inscribed with the finger of God. Moses receives them. Moses transmits them. But Moses never claims authorship, not once. This single difference, who wrote the law, changes everything about what law can demand of human beings. Before we compare these systems, let's orient ourselves in time. The laws of Ur-nammu date to around 2100 BCE, the oldest known law code. Lipit-Ishtar's laws follow around 1930 BCE. Hammurabi's famous code comes around 1750 BCE. Biblical law codification occurs around 1200 BCE. All these codes emerge from the ancient Near East, within a few hundred miles of each other. They share vocabulary, legal forms, even specific laws. But one fundamental difference sets biblical law apart. Here's the pattern across every ancient Near Eastern code. Gods grant the king authority to rule, but the king authors the laws himself. Ur-nammu credits the gods for his kingship, then declares, "I established equity in the land." Lipit-Ishtar says the gods chose him, then, "I established justice." Hammurabi receives divine blessing, then, "My statutes, my handiwork, my justice." The biblical text inverts this completely. Exodus 24 repeats all the commands of the Lord 3 times in 2 verses. God authors, Moses mediates, the distinction is absolute. Hammurabi's stela makes his personal claim unmistakable. The inscription reads, "I established law and justice in the language of the land, thereby promoting the welfare of the people." At that time, the laws of justice which Hammurabi, the efficient king, set up. Notice the repeated "I" and his own name. Hammurabi wants credit. He's proud of his achievement. Biblical law contains no equivalent. Moses never says "my laws" or "I commanded." The author remains God throughout. Divine authorship doesn't just change who gets credit, it changes what law can demand. Ancient Near Eastern codes deal almost exclusively with court-enforceable matters, property disputes, contracts, injuries, theft. Things judges can verify and punish. Biblical law includes commands no court could enforce. Love your fellow as yourself. Don't hate your brother in your heart. Rise before the aged. These aren't suggestions, they're laws. And each one ends with a distinctive phrase, "I am the Lord." That refrain marks divine enforcement where human enforcement fails. When God authors law, law can reach into conscience itself. The scope difference is dramatic. Ancient Near Eastern law codes occupy a defined territory, matters courts can adjudicate. Biblical law expands into morality, conscience, compassion, and religious obligation. Other cultures value compassion. Hammurabi's prologue expresses concern for widows and orphans. But the concern stays in the prologue. It doesn't become enforceable law. Biblical law legislates charity. Leviticus 19, "When you reap your harvest, don't reap to the edges. Leave gleanings for the poor and the stranger." This isn't advice, it's commandment. The poor have legal rights to your field's corners. Compassion becomes law. In modern thinking, law and morality occupy separate domains. You can be immoral without breaking the law. You can break the law without being immoral. Biblical law rejects this division entirely. Every crime is also a sin. Every sin is potentially a crime. This fusion explains why biblical law looks like an indiscriminate mix to modern readers. Incest prohibitions next to festival regulations, next to gleaning requirements, next to rules about mixed fabrics. The categories seem random. They're not. Right? All of it represents God's will for all of life. There's no secular sphere where divine law doesn't reach. The apparent disorder reflects a different organizing principle, comprehensive divine authority. The most dramatic implication involves absolute wrongs. Compare adultery laws directly. Hammurabi's Code, Law 129, If a man's wife is caught with another man, both shall be bound and thrown into the water. But if the husband wishes to spare his wife, the king may spare the man, the husband decides. The king follows his lead. Both can walk free. Middle Assyrian laws go further. Whatever the husband does to his wife, he shall do to the adulterer. If he lets her go free, the man goes free too. Adultery is a private wrong. Right? The offended party controls the outcome. Negotiation is built into the system. Deuteronomy 22:22 allows no negotiation. If a man is found lying with another man's wife, both of them shall die. Both shall die. No decision point for the husband, no appeal to the king, no ransom, no pardon, no letting both go free. The husband cannot forgive this offense because it isn't only against him. Adultery is a sin against God, and humans lack authority to pardon sins against God. The same logic applies to murder. Numbers 35 states explicitly, "You may not accept a ransom for the life of a murderer. Certain wrongs transcend human power to negotiate away." This framework reframes how we understand biblical law's apparent harshness. The issue isn't cruelty, it's the nature of the offense. When adultery is merely a wrong against the husband can forgive. When murder is merely a wrong against the family can accept compensation. But when these acts become sins against God, they move beyond human jurisdiction. No bribe can buy pardon. No political connection can secure release. The powerful cannot buy their way out. In a world where kings routinely pardoned favorites and wealth bought immunity, absolute wrongs created a kind of equality before divine law. When you read biblical law, watch for the refrain, "I am the Lord." It marks commands no court could enforce. Love your neighbor, don't bear a grudge, fear your mother and father. These are unenforceable suggestions. They're laws with a divine enforcer. Notice too why biblical law seems like an indiscriminate mix. Ritual purity next to criminal law, next to agricultural regulations. The organizing principle isn't modern legal categories, it's comprehensive divine will. Finally, recognize the revolutionary claim embedded in this system. Compassion isn't just encouraged, it's commanded. Certain wrongs aren't negotiable, they're absolute. Divine authorship transforms law from a tool of state power into a comprehensive moral order answerable to God alone.